Back from a wicked weekend with Type 40 Live's early edition. It's the live stream Doctor Who magazine show starting your week in geek on Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too. This is where we talk all things Doctor Who. The Whoniverse, some are insisting on calling it, from right the way back then to the right here and the right now, all in front of a live chat full of fellow friends, fans, and companions just like you. And who's that? What's all this? What's going on? What are the rumblings from the archives? Do we have news? Do we have rumours? And what about her? She's looking very tight-lipped in more ways than one. And there's lots more besides to get into on this edition of the show. Just don't go anywhere. Certainly if you want to try and find any new Who. All that's coming up on Type 40 Live. And doesn't the console room look lovely and colourful and bright? It reminds me of a time not that long ago when we were all full of hope. Well, I say all. Some were full of hope. Well, I say hope. Well, you know, we were zhuzhed up, weren't we, for the big rise. And ever since, we've sort of had the fall. But it doesn't matter. We're still here, bravely, valiantly battling on, all in the name of, I don't know, William Hartnell, Richard Lambert, Philip Hinchcliffe, and the people that matter, aren't we? We keep the faith here at Type 40 Live. If we can keep our dinner down, some of the things we've got to talk our way through, haven't we? So, and you can get stuck in there too, of course, in the live comments on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks, and a panel that are waiting, poised to come on. Some of them have sort of slightly relocated. Some of them have only just made it, but this is how we bring it all to you, live and lively, Mondays and Thursdays from 8 p.m. here on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. Okay, big old console room, as we've been known to complain before. Lots of people, lots of voices that's going to join me on this one. First of all, matching the walls, I'm happy to say, in what could be some sort of sporting paraphernalia. I think David Milling is wearing. Hi, David.
Hello, Dan. I'm honoured. First on. That's lovely.
First in the bat.
First about. Unlike I went to the Oval today to see a thrilling hour's worth of play, to see England versus India, right, where they drew 2-2. But fellow Brummie, Chris Wokes, okay, 36 years old. Wokes? W-O-A-K-E-S.
Oh, Wokes. Thank heaven for that.
Fellow Brummie, played Warwickshire as well, went into bat with a dislocated shoulder, as last man to try and win the game for England, so he could only bat with one hand. So that's how hard-nosed the Brummies are, everybody. So you just better be careful. And it was, you know, he badly dislocated his shoulder on Thursday fielding. And, he goes, I can think of no other sort of sport. I mean, Shooty Gap was 4 years younger than him, and he can't even say a few words, because his knees hurt a bit.
He can barely move now, apparently, the poor lad.
I know, poor lad, you know, get him a Zimmer. But there you go. You get a hard-nosed Brummie, 4 years older, who's willing to go out and have a ball lobbed at him at 90 miles an hour that could crack his skull open, you know, with a dislocated shoulder. That's how hard you Brummies are. So
exactly.
I salute you, Dan, and all the Brummies tonight.
Aussie was not a one-off. We're all made of the same stuff here.
Yes. So I'm very as a result of that. Even though England lost. Oh, it's fantastic. I've been down to London for an hour's worth of cricket. Yeah, fantastic.
Excellent stuff. And now back to talk about your other favourite thing too.
Absolutely.
With myself and Charlotte Shields too.
Oh, hello, everybody. Lovely Charlotte. Hello.
Welcome back, Charlotte. How's your weekend been? You okay?
Yeah, no, we've had really odd, like we literally had like storm sort of rain. We didn't get like all the wind and everything. So no, some places like Scotland, like
the wind was wild.
Like,
that could have been me. It's just me. Yeah,
like people like my good friend Daniel up there, up Scotland, had it rough. But then by afternoon, it was brilliant sun.
Glorious, isn't it?
And it was just like, can our weather pick one? That would be nice. Just one thing throughout the day.
All the seasons in one day.
We basically have had that today.
I was going to say that's how we like it, but we don't like it.
To everybody.
it's not just us that have been talking. Everybody's been talking. I mean, you think, is there any actual news? Nothing's actually happening, but people have been saying so much, and we're going to pick our way through whatever we can. So the three of us and him, yes, recently relocated, shaven, or as near as damaged. No, not there. On the
no! I've got images now. No.
Yes, welcome
Get
back.
them out.
He's the chief hooligan, the master of all things Cinescope, and yes, Luke Walters.
Well, it's quite impressive, but I'm not going to do that on live stream. But yes, hello. And
It's good to see you, pal.
yeah, yeah, it's good. And David as well. Your sporting story reminded me of Jamie Roberts, a famous Welsh rugby player, when they played against Australia in 2008, and he got a knock on the head, and then went down injured for like a couple of minutes in the first 5 minutes, and then went on to play the full 80 and won man of the match. And then they did a scan on him afterwards and found out he fractured his skull, and all the fluid he was spitting out during the game was all the brain fluids. And
Bloody hell!
And he didn't say anything.
Oh.
So. But he
Was
was
the old Man City goalkeeper.
Yeah, he was 22 at the time though, so that's fine.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm just as bemused as you are, Charlotte, and you probably are as well. I'm a classic geek. I don't do sport. I don't watch any sport.
I know nothing about sport. Like, my dad's the sports person in the family.
But these two are definitely keeping the end up there. And you're looking very patriotic today as well, Luke.
Oh, you just, of course, just in case. Just in case.
Did Wales win or something?
No, I just got a lot of Welsh stuff. I just got a lot of Welsh stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what, it'd brighten up this TARDIS, no end.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bit more colourful, jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, it really would. So it's been a couple of weeks since we've connected, and there's been lots going on sort of in the margins, in the corners. Always keep one eye on what's being said out there in the Whoniverse. I think whatever we're doing, even if we think we're going to tune out for 2 or 3 days, you've got your notifications on and things go ping, 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 ping. You think, oh, I wonder what Charlotte will have to say about that. I wonder if Luke's seen this. Or what on earth is David going to make of that? This is how I think that we as fans get together and we sort of process these things as they're happening. And the best place to do it is, of course, here at Type 40 Live with everybody there in the live chat too. So make sure you get your comments about all the various bits and pieces that we will lay before you on this edition of the show, loosely connected to Doctor Who when absolutely necessary. Of course, new Doctor Who is thin on the ground. Upcoming Doctor Who, the war between the land and the sea is coming soon. They insist, they promise. Out there are plenty of things to watch. Luke, if you know where to look, they're on the Cinescope Pictures YouTube channel, of course. But if you're looking for new Who, then this week you're in trouble all over the world, it seems. So we're only a few days on from New Who. That's everything from 2005 through to 2022. So from Rose to the Power of the Doctor, all of that has left HBO Max in the USA. This was a story that broke a couple of weeks ago, and we did an item about it on the last edition of the show, because obviously we've got a lot of people who interact with us over in the States, who were midway through watching New Who or rewatching New Who. So we were aware that was going on. But now there are further accounts from various countries of the series, the exact same material vanishing from various other platforms too. So it's been posted over onto X and to Reddit from various people across the Doctor Who fandom. This is the tally so far. So with no fanfare or warning whatsoever, New Who has been removed from Amazon's BBC Player channel in Germany, Amazon Video in France, Spain, and the Netherlands. It's also gone from Stan in Australia and ABC iView. When that's the ABC, that's their version of the BBC in Australia.
Yeah,
that's their free streaming service. It's kind of their iPlayer. It's gone from all of those places all at once. So we talked a little bit about HBO the other day, Luke, because it's been there for about 5 years, I think, and they were very proud of it when they got it, emblazoning their logo and the various doctors, their faces everywhere. And so I think it's probably the longest that it's actually stayed on one streaming platform in America, come to think of it. So that's one thing. That's in and of itself, rights run out, don't they? It happens. That's the nature of the streaming age. But all of this as well, various different platforms within 2 or 3 days, this can't be a coincidence, I'm thinking.
No, it's gonna something's happening in the background. Like something's got to be. We know there's been rumored Disney been trying to buy Doctor Who outright since I think the late 80s. I think they've been sniffing around it. I know Amazon's sniffing around it as well because they want Bond and they want Doctor Who. But for it to go off from Amazon as well in certain territories, and yeah, it's quite a maybe the BBC and be like, cool, yep, let's just give it to Disney. Who knows? But yeah, it's a very apt thing to happen right now in the midst of, we don't know where Doctor Who's gone, and then it just disappears from every streaming platform. So who knows?
Out like a light. Reddit is full of people, Charlotte, complaining they were halfway through rewatches, or I was showing it my partner, I was showing it my kids, and now it's gone. I mean, there are other places to watch it, and there are still such things as DVDs and Blu-rays. But if people are in the habit, they're in the habit. I mean, what's your take on this?
Well, I didn't realise other stuff, because like I said, we talked about the HBO side of it, but with Amazon now in certain countries and other things, yeah, for me, that says to me that the BBC is collecting in almost, or is getting all of the different streaming it can all back together under them, would be my guess right now. And it makes you think if they're doing that, they're probably either talking with other people or maybe there's negotiations and they had to get them all back in order to maybe complete or to get these negotiations, which I do think are happening. Because that's the thing, on the surface, Doctor Who is on the pause and we know production side of it isn't going to quickly get going again anytime soon. But these sort of things, you can negotiate these separate. I said that on Thursday. The streaming rights are very different to when the production starts going again or when a new production.
Totally different, yeah.
So this you can sort of have its own thing working away at the background. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a priority right now, because you know the production's on the pause, let's get the streaming sorted, let's get this new possible deal they're trying to do, which would be my guess, very much so. Now use this sort of hiatus, which we've all said, they've not officially said it, but it's pretty much in hiatus right now.
It's a window, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a perfect window right now to get sort of, if you want to entice somebody else, like maybe a Netflix or Disney or an Amazon, as more of a wholesale thing, that's what you'd probably be doing, and it would make a good bit of money for the BBC if they could get a new deal, I would think.
I think it's perfectly reasonable, David, when you look at the proposal. Anybody circling, excuse me, anybody circling the brand, it's perfectly reasonable for them to ask, well, how much of this did we get for this money? What's the profile of the show? Who are the faces, the talent, the actors, the visible face of this brand that's going to entice people to our platform? And at present, the answer is anybody except Ncuti Gatwa. It seems to be the case. And to be fair, I think that we'd have always got to this place. In all seriousness, I think that wherever it would go next, it would have to have broadened out anyway. It just seems perfectly logical rather than having something dotted around 2 or 3 different platforms as it's been in America. But that doesn't explain what's going on in those other territories, does it? Have you been keeping an eye on this story?
I have, yes. And quite interestingly, Steph Coburn has also thrown his 2 pennyworth in, as I saw on another Facebook forum, Ian Levine's one. Sorry to name check Ian, but I'm sure he won't mind. But
Ian's a friend of the show.
Yeah, he's love him to bits. And so, and I'll come on to that one in a moment. But for me, it's a ducks in the row moment, and it's almost like the BBC want to get all their ducks in a row, and try to get some sort of mass appeal, sort of like ability to try and sell it to the highest bidder for an exclusivity sort of content.
Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about Ooh La La in France and 99 in Germany and Stan in Australia or the ABC or HBO Max, so they can say to one platform, right, okay, if you're serious, okay, this is what we've done. We've got all the ducks in a row. You can have it all. And you've got worldwide streaming rights. You have outside the UK, obviously, because that will still be on iPlayer. But you've got worldwide streaming rights to all our back catalogue. And are you interested in helping us do a new series? As long as, I think the caveat has to be that it is mass appeal, like your most popular James Bond, whomever that may be, because everybody else has their own opinions on that one. But it has to be mass appeal, one platform, to make it desirable, I feel. So they get the new series and all the old stuff as well as a bit of money.
You've just hit on something there that hadn't registered with me before. Amazon proudly declare, very simply, in a lot of their advertising, they are the home of James Bond. The streaming home of James, and it's that a simple statement like that. Like, you can see films 1 to 10 on Netflix, and we've got, they don't have to divide it up. We are the home. It's I think I said on the last show, use words like home. It implies a sense of belonging and a destination somewhere that the viewer, the customer, will want to stay. Totally.
So everything's available from them from start to finish on that platform. So it's a big for a streaming platform, it's a big sort of IP to have. And a big sort of, well, if you subscribe to us, you have the home of James Bond, for example, the home of Doctor Who, the home of this massive franchise. And commercially, it just makes sense, rather than doing deals with various different nationality-based streamers, to have it all in one sort of platform to make the most available money, and for that company to be able to advertise and have that strapline, as you said, the home of James Bond, the home of Doctor Who. I think Star Trek is a bit too fractured to have a general.
Yeah, something's cooking with Star Trek as we speak. Dr. Once is one of lots of people who've joined us over on YouTube, commenting along with this conversation. It's still on the BBC iPlayer, unfortunately. Could someone tell them to get that off that streaming platform too? Thank you for the comment, Dr. Once. Again, the Whoniverse, obviously, that's still very much there. It's their home portal in Britain.
I was going to say, like, iPlayers are sort of shown, even though some of the classic stuff is starting to disappear. And we've said this, I've enjoyed, especially now knowing if I go on iPlayer, I can watch a classic episode and then I can watch a new series episode. It's that connective sort of thing of having, like you said, all the Doctors, all the stories, that if you want to feel like, oh, I want to watch this episode, you can just find it, whether that's classic or new on the iPlayer right now. And I think that is one of the successes Russell has managed to do with this run so far. And the other thing is, we said this, it was so odd that you had a series going on with Ncuti with Mel, Unit, Omega, Rani, all these characters. Americans would be like, who on earth are these characters if they weren't inbuilt fans and they didn't have the back catalogue on Disney Plus to explain half of the storylines that the current series
I don't even think it's exclusive to Americans or an international audience. I think that there's still that divide, still that barrier, which to us as long-term fans of the show, that suits us sort of mentally and emotionally just fine at the moment. But it's quite impractical, I think. And it's not logical for somebody who wants to discover Doctor Who in a relatively quick and convenient way. And that's what all of this must be about predominantly, because, obviously most of us own the series in one format or another, largely on disc, or have got season passes to things like Apple that did very well in America sort of 10 years ago or so. I know several people who still have all that stuff. So, who's to say what's going to happen over the next few months? Despite claims to the contrary, we do know that there have been talks ongoing for a while now. So we're some way down the road from any kind of announcement or any speculation publicly, but they protest a little bit too much about everything else. Is it because the BBC are pushing iPlayer subs in the United States so hard? The iPlayer doesn't go to the States, Sharon. Thanks for joining us. But no, it's just a domestic thing, the BBC iPlayer, because it's through the BBC TV license, and of course there's no license fee abroad because it's a government mandated thing. So it doesn't affect it in any way. But obviously, as always, it's the fans that are left halfway through their rewatches, Luke, wondering where it's going to turn up next, and that's regrettable.
Oh,
that's regrettable.
I love that. That's brilliant.
That's regrettable. All dressed up and nowhere to go and nothing to watch, and all of that is regrettable. But obviously, it's not going to last forever. What I find strange is that they never gave a warning to people who would be midway through a watch. This is going to disappear in X amount of days, or whatever. I think that's a shame. I think it's rude. In fact, I think it's rude. Who disappoint these little faces?
It's like Netflix has leaving in 2 days, or Wednesdays arriving on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Which is
last chance to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. So you think they would have put something there, but maybe it is being packaged up and sold, and which makes sense. Maybe it is. So who knows? Maybe Disney got their way in the end and just got all of Doctor Who in a bowl and just neatly tied up, so it's theirs forever. So, and I, for one, welcome our Disney overlords. So
it depends how much belief the BBC, the other partners, have left in the brand, but particularly BBC Studios, as regards where it goes next. How much of it? Because obviously anything is possible, and we're aware of developments from last year, but things can change at any time, and those frowns could be turned upside down. Before we know it, we'll have to wait and see, I suppose, but we'll be on it as soon as we find out.
The universe is in peril. We've got about 24 hours until it completely is destroyed. The only way you can help me save it is by watching Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast. I'll see you there.
Cheers, Doctor. And you can get the latest episode of Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast, across all major podcatchers, as always, and our home feed at type40.podbean.com. And there's another one on the way very, very soon. So head over there and check out the back catalogue, if you like, and wait patiently for all further installments. And we know what's next. You don't. It's going to be great, I promise you. Okay, so where are we now? Type 40 live with more to nourish, whether it's a solid or in liquid form. We do as much as we can for whatever tape. Yeah, I know. Help me out with this one, Dave.
just don't stop. Just stop. Put the picture of the dogs back up and carry on from there.
just have the dogs for the rest of the night.
Yeah, you don't need us.
Okay, onto something a lot less contentious now. This doesn't get people upset at all. The missing episodes of Doctor Who. This actually happened for several years, all through the 1970s. Really, the junking of precious episodes of our favourite TV show. Well over 100. I beggars belief how many of them were actually junked way back then. Thanks to the efforts of valiant missing episode hunters, a great deal of them have been recovered in various states. But the story and the search, it all goes on, doesn't it? And this last week, there's been further news about, well, potentially news, rumours, I should say, or the whispers of rumours about further material that could be on its way back home. Obviously, the Hartnell and the Troughton era in particular were decimated by the junking of those episodes. And whilst we're all grateful for what we've got, don't get me wrong, when new episodes do turn up, it's that feeling of this is material that's coming home to us, where we will all collectively look after it. Lots of places all over the world have been scoured for film cans and various other formats, practically since, well, I think they started looking for them whilst the BBC were actually destroying them. But in recent years, obviously, returns have been fewer and farther between. Several dedicated places have set up websites and formed sort of societies, I suppose, to pool resources to get into attics and into sheds of veteran collectors, I suppose, of this stuff who may not realise what they've got. We're always hanging on any word we can get about this story. I don't think that's ever going to change. But when it makes its way through to the broader media, that's always a little unexpected, I think. The Daily Mirror have published an article in the last few days concerning what's going on with the missing episodes. Now, we're used to them covering current Doctor Who. More often than not, when they do that, they're pretty on the money as well. It's their regular Doctor Who reporter, Nicola Muthven, who's now speculating about the return of further 1960s episodes, suggesting we could be the closest that we've been in some years to a fresh, official recovery. And when we say official, we mean something actually being declared, being announced as having been returned to the BBC archives. There are still 97 episodes missing. God, it still hurts, doesn't it, to hear that? But the Mirror says that more lost Doctor Who episodes will be found soon, an expert predicts. This one hasn't bubbled up for quite a while, has it, David? You know, it's...
No.
Does this still hurt as much as it used to? I think in some ways it does. I mean,
absolutely.
Again, you mentioned Ian Levine a moment ago. He's been doing amazing work with AI, and so have plenty of others too, to make sure that these stories aren't literally lost, that we can enjoy them in various different forms. There's lots of various creative efforts and people as well paying quite large sums of money to have them recreated and restored, and the search does go on. But did you see this story break?
Yeah, I did actually. And my lovely wife bought a copy of The Mirror the other day and left it open at that page for me to read. And I did read it. And I just started dreaming about those stories that I so would badly love to see, or the episodes I'd love to see. And the Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve is up there for me. Just because how dark it turns in the last episode. Daleks Master Plan, obviously, and I'd have to say The Power of the Daleks, and possibly The Space Pirates, to see if it is literally as bad as everybody thought.
So you've literally got a hit list there. You've got the ones you want to see first.
Yeah, particularly I like The Space Pirates because it's the much lamented Space Pirates, just to go, so I could watch it just to go, yeah, that absolutely was shite, or actually, it's not as bad as people said it was.
It's the fact that we can't make up our own opinions and see for ourselves, isn't it? It's part of the romance of it as well.
It's that sort of thing. But I would just love to see that. But and I feel so sorry for Patrick Troughton, because he never got to see so many of his episodes rescued, and he died with the knowledge that actually the BBC had junked a lot of his work as his beloved character as Doctor Who. So I think that was so sad, and it's such a pleasure to have been able to see so much of Patrick Troughton, or not as much as we would have liked to, or hopefully we'll get to see in the future, of his time as you know, taking over from William Hartnell, which was got to be the toughest gig ever. Because if you get that wrong in episode 1 of The Power of the Daleks, you've lost the audience totally. The amount of pressure must have been huge. And to have got to, even if we can get his first episode back, and I know we've had those wonderful animations, and they are wonderful, but to be able to get that first episode of him taking over with all that pressure and to just boss it so fantastically well would just be an amazing sort of tribute to a wonderful actor. So and I would just like to see the Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve, just to see how, you know, how sort of light-hearted it initially is, and then that where it goes on a sort of sixpence and becomes really dark. And I really do hope they're out there.
obviously, when it comes to the Mirror, sort of anything in the mainstream, they don't know the series the way that we do. You know, I think their knowledge of it probably stops at the 97, at that number 97. The rest of us followed it meticulously. We've got charts about that which exists, and that doesn't. And obviously, there are experts out there who have literally sort of tracked each episode, each copy, where it was sent and bicycled onto next in that sort of rollout of the material when it was sold abroad, all through the 70s, all through the 80s. So fans have done meticulous work to recover this, and now it's taken on a kind of new life, really, largely thanks, it seems, to a group of people who were involved either with the BBC or with distributors in the first place. Film is Fabulous is an organisation mostly run by film collectors themselves and vintage TV enthusiasts. But in the last couple of years, they've established a relationship, shall we say, or the endorsement of Sue Molden. And she was the archivist at the BBC from the late 70s, certainly through to the 80s, maybe into the 90s as well. This is a woman who was there as the material was being junked, who actively stepped in at the behest, again, of Ian Levine. And for the last sort of 4 decades, Luke, this poor woman, she's been forced into a corner to talk about the one show for the most part. I think she's a tremendous sport to still keep listening to generations of Doctor Who fans and their nonsense when the fans of, say, I don't know, the Likely Lads or Hancock probably leave her alone to enjoy her holidays and a retirement.
Yeah, I'll find some Dad's Army instead. I don't know.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, I think I work for the Mirror.
Right.
So the company I work for obviously is we're all under the same umbrella. So technically,
yes.
I thought some Doctor Who stuff with so I was talking to never mind. I'm just going to be quiet. No, it's a bit mad. It's a bit. So I know of one Doctor Who film canister. I know there's one around that I know of. A mate of mine did a film, and I think the lead actor in it was a film collector, and he was showing the other crew members there. He was showing them what films he had, and he told me, he was like, he's got a Doctor Who canister, and I was like, right, what is it? I was like, what is it? You find us, and he was like, he's got a copy of the Daleks, and I was like, oh, that's okay, fair enough. Yeah, so it definitely still exists out there. So hopefully more comes back. But I know that people are doing great work, the reconstructions as well. I know Ian's put loads of time and effort and money into it. So I think will we ever get a complete William to whoever it is now, Billy Piper? Probably not. Are they going to lose Love and Monsters? Probably not. We can live in hope. But no, I'd love for some. It's like 10th Planet Part 4. All the big hitters. The real iconic ones that you want. You want everything back. But are we going to get it? No, we're probably not. I remember back in the day when Blue Peter were offering. I think was it around the 50th anniversary, a little bit before, when they were offering Daleks. Yeah, they were offering, have a life-size Dalek in exchange for a
gold
film.
Blue Peter badge.
Sue Molden has gone to great lengths to explain that in Film is Fabulous's case, they're not offering any incentive at all for any returns. They're not in a position to. They collaborate with film historians at De Montfort University and some official film archives, because their goal is to support private film collectors rather than any affiliation with the BBC or an actual studio, Charlotte. So things have moved on, and that sensation simply isn't there anymore. But Sue was kind enough to speak on stage about all this at an event called Recovered, which took place at Leicester's Independent Arts Centre and Cinema, Phoenix. And this happened actually all the way back in May. But the Doctor Who fandom, we had other things going on at the time, so
we were a bit busy.
Nobody seemed to notice. But here she is anyway, speaking about the missing episodes. And this is what's got the Mirror's ears pricked up, and fandom are listening now too. So check it out. Here's Sue Molden on stage just a few months ago.
As far as Dr. Hoover goes, you'll be able to edit this, won't you? No, as far as Doctor Who goes, we do not have a statement or anything to make at the moment. We do know fairly certainly that there are episodes missing in private collections. Some members of the Film is Fabulous team are in a considerably significant position to help on that. So when the time is right, we really do hope that it will be Film is Fabulous that manages to return at least one or two, I don't know, missing episodes of Doctor Who to the BBC. We will have a ceremony with Claire to do that, I'm sure. And, you know, that works on the assumption every one of them had to have been recorded somewhere. So I've been asked in the past, when I knew less, whether I thought we'd found the last Doctor Who. And I'd sort of look a bit vague and say, oh, I don't know. But actually now I've stopped to think about it. Everyone has been recorded. They've got to be there somewhere. And we now think we know a few places where they might be.
That bloke on the stage so knows something.
Well, what's good? It sounds like they've got a plan.
Sue
and they've got like an idea.
She sounds more than she sounds more than hopeful, very capable, and because she's aware that Doctor Who fans latch onto every single word, those carefully chosen words, I think she knows that we're gonna kind of, in the nicest possible way, probably hold her to this. Sorry, Charlotte, you were saying.
I was going to say, what I like about this, and when this story started to sort of come about, we've had brilliant sort of one person or a very small groups of people in the past find these, which is absolutely amazing. We've had Tomb of the Cybermen. We've had some really important stuff of certain people just being sort of, I'm going to do it and I'm going to find it. But you can only get so far that way. You need to have, I think, a group and a plan and sort of contacts and multiple people. And it sounds like they've got the structure to sort of, hopefully, like she said, get these stories back. And I agree, she was very careful. You could see almost as she was speaking. And I think she was absolutely right to do this. You could see she was almost like, no, I can't say that. I'll say it like this. Because she knows she can't promise. Because I think she also, which is lovely, she understands how much this means. You can tell she understands, like you said, as fans, we desperately want Troughton stories and Hartnell stories. And I think the other thing is with those two doctors, it was some pretty important stuff which went missing. Like for me, it's the Highlanders. That's because I love Jamie. He's one of my favourite classic companions. And the fact that we haven't got his introduction. And whenever I hear what it was, I would just love to see those Scottish sort of hills and the landscape properly on film, had it in full kilt and costume, and it just sounds brilliant, that story, whenever I hear just the basics of it. So like I said, this seems like a really positive, well thought out way forward, which is what I think we need, because it's getting harder and harder to find these things.
It's been 12 years since the last recovery, isn't it? And whilst they had been in the safe hands of BBC Studios for quite a while before their release to coincide with the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, it was still quite a long time sort of in the making, that it was still meticulous. And I feel for Sue. Obviously, she wouldn't have gone there and offered to speak under duress. You know, she clearly knows what she's saying and who she's speaking to. Luke knows what she's getting into, particularly after all these decades of fielding questions and being on the trail herself. All I can really think of, all I can say about this is that she seems more certain than ever. I think that you mentioned the gentleman that was on the stage there, David. That's a guy called Tim Beddoes, who we have had some contact with in the past, and he's also an authority on the missing episodes. So again, I would imagine that if he was approached, he'd have to probably be quite careful about what he was saying as well.
Oh yes,
there's a set of, say, a dozen people who. It's a set of around a dozen people who are very, very well connected and trusted, and gaining the trust of anyone who may have material that may or may not be missing from the archives. I think that's sort of a feat in itself. I think that they've got to be careful not to be heard to be villainizing anybody in this equation at all, and to just sort of keep channels of communication and recovery just open, and hope that we get something sooner rather than later. Obviously, fingers permanently crossed.
Yeah, it's very much a politician's answer, isn't it? She's very very hopeful, but do I think they're all out there? Yes, I do. I believe they're all recorded. They're out there somewhere, but we'll have one or two to give back to the BBC, maybe. So it's like, okay, don't get your expectations up, but you can get them a little bit. So it's very much like just playing it very, very safe, I think. Because if they and they come back and be like, no, we've got them all. So they can kind of say like, and they didn't. And they come back and they went, oh, we've only got like 3. So I'm over delivered or under delivered, or well, you said you'd have 12 episodes, and so no, well, we got 2. And
Luke,
she's
for
just been
her
like,
to expressly say some members of the Film is Fabulous team are in a considerably significant position to help, that implies progress has been made.
Oh yeah.
To one degree or another.
It sounds more than, but she says it sounds more than 1 or 2. Like the way she's talking, it sounds more than just here's an episode or 2. So I think she played it very, very, very coy and very, very smart and very diplomatic. But no, it's quite exciting. So hopefully it's I think every episode's important. But if we can get a regeneration or Patrick's first or the Highlanders, that would be the icing on the cake.
It's impossible to speculate, obviously, about what. I mean, even if we were in a position where we had a tiny inkling or a fragment of knowledge, it would still be a very foolish thing to do, because there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to what's turned up before. Sue Molden is a very respected figure in not just the Doctor Who world, but in the broadcasting world and the arts world too. A career in this precise field, again, making connections, maintaining the archive. If we can't listen to her and take her at her word, then I don't think we can anyone, realistically. People in the live chat obviously are picking up on this, talking it up, and obviously we all have our hopes about what could potentially come back. Stephen Braddock says, one thing Film is Fabulous has done, it's opened up negotiations with ex-BBC employees, which must be a good thing. Of course it is. Of course it is. Sue is playing her cards close to her chest, says Zach Witten. Absolutely. And wouldn't you, Charlotte?
Well, I've got an interesting theory. I think they need to get in touch with whomever worked on the BBC staff at Blue Peter in around about 1973-74, because the 10th Planet episode 4 went missing after they lent them that episode to play a clip out of the regeneration. So I wonder, and this is only a sort of like a wild stab in the dark, I wonder if somebody perhaps decided to collect that episode who worked on the Blue Peter staff on that time. So that that would be an amazing find if they managed to get in, if that was the case. Of course, that's me just wishing.
This is something we've been speculating on for years. Matty Carr has joined us in the live chat there, watching over on X. Lots of people watch us on X, but they're often too shy to comment. Good to have you with us, Matty. Let us know what you think about the missing episode saga.
Well, the vibe I'm getting is, and a few people have said it in our chat, it feels like she's, without saying it, but hinting that conversations have been had with possibly these collectors, or possibly like sort of places like maybe David just said the Blue Peter link, because we know that they had it once and then it went missing. That's a story that's been about for years now. So it feels like that's what she's hinting at without saying it, because that'd be too definite. That they've either got contacts or conversations that are happening with the right kinds of people or places, and that's what needs to happen. And it, like you said, she does have to be, and the people involved with this, they can't vilify, because if people want to collect and they have their own collections, then they have every right to hold on to these episodes. They've either paid for them or somehow got them as their property. So you can't then go and barge and say, you need to give it to us. You have to be very delicate and you have to be respectful. And that's what it sort of takes to get these things going.
I think the wise move with this, or the more perhaps attractive prospect or appealing prospect for any film collector out there, is that Film is Fabulous has this kind of wonderful sort of cozy image, really. It's not anything official. This isn't sort of the BBC or ITV reaching out and contacting and issuing, two black and then a red letter. It's a cooperative of people. You are amongst friends. You can, I think that really does. I think that really does help. So, in one sense, just that they haven't got any resources to sort of throw money at people. It's often the case that people who do collect this stuff do it out of love anyway, and aren't in it for the money, so to speak. Stephen Braddock has been keeping a tally here. He says that Film is Fabulous have found many episodes of TV shows, including 58 episodes of Emergency Ward 10. I didn't know that, David. Sabre of London, I've never even heard of that. Moonstrike, Sykes, and Basil Brush. That's quite a tally.
Boom.
And and Matty says, what? What does she mean every one of them has been recorded? Isn't there still 93 missing? I don't believe all will come back. No, that would be somewhat of a tall order, obviously, but any is a good thing, I think. When she says they were all recorded, I think what she means is that they weren't sort of just broadcast live in the way that the weather report was, or something like that. It was, yes, Doctor Who was viewed as populist and almost sort of ephemera, but it was marketed, it was exploited, it was recorded and sent elsewhere in the world. I think that's what she meant, because there was lots of TV that was made even through to the early 70s that wasn't recorded at all, which surprised me. I thought they would have recorded everything past, say, 65 at the latest, but apparently not. Our philosophy says, our philosophy is, what a great logo. Is that a lollipop or something like that? The BBC needs to promise not to prosecute collectors who return episodes. There was a story about that years ago. If they do that, they will get more back, I think. I think that could explain Film is Fabulous's approach to some degree, Luke.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Because I remember the story a couple of years ago. And a lot of, I think the one doing the rounds was a couple of film collectors were unhappy because they thought the BBC would just take it and damage the film stock and not get it back, and the BBC were like, no, we'd make a copy and you get the original version back. The BBC would just retain a copy. So yeah, I think if someone's pilfered it from pilfered 10th Planet Part 4 from Blue Peter set, they'd just be like, look, just give us it back for a little bit. Let's
I do believe
that's a little bit of an amnesty.
I think either Phil Morris or Richard Molesworth, both friends of the show, one of them did follow the trail of that Blue Peter story, and it ended up being somewhat of a dead end. It wasn't what we think. So we did interview Richard about his book. He wrote the book on the missing episodes, and you can find our full interview, 2-hour interview with Richard Molesworth here on the channel as well. Obviously they're seductive stories. It's obviously very British, very kooky, and it is entirely possible that eventually we could be surprised by virtually anything. I think that's another attractive thing about this story, is that the stuff that's turned up from the places it's sometimes been recovered from. Like a Mormon temple was just one famous example. You think, well, it's all part of the fun. Really, I mean, none of us want this to be the state of play, do we, Charlotte? But I think, generally speaking, Doctor Who fans are inherently optimistic, and that's why we sort of latch on and hope and hope.
Yeah, because we want to believe, don't we? And it's sort of the whole Indiana Jones thing. I see it as that idea of lost treasure. I think this is like the modern example of that. This idea of, it might be just in somebody's attic and they didn't know, or like somebody's grandkids
holding a door open.
Somebody's grandkids might clear out a loft or an attic one day and find, there's a Doctor Who episode which we never knew about. It's that, like I said, it's that sort of allure and excitement.
Because weren't some of them mislabeled as well? Some recovered episodes, they'd got like the Lulu Show or Cilla Black
Yeah.
Tonight written on them, and it turned out to be a couple of episodes of The Wheel in Space or whatever. So,
But I think what it is as well, it's that thing of we want to, what David was alluding to, and Luke, this idea of we want to physically see Pat, we want to physically see Bill, we want to see those actors, because as much as the animations sometimes can do very good jobs, nothing's going to beat those two actors on screen. There's a reason those two fellas sort of made the show last as long as it did, because Bill established it. And I said this as well on one of our podcasts. It was Troughton that sort of proved the point of regeneration, that you could do it and you could be successful at it. So they sort of set all the groundwork for what came afterwards. So we want as much of that fully on screen as we can see. Especially like with Troughton, he's such a physical actor. I'd say he was more than Bill. The way he'd pull a face, or he'd hold his body, or he'd have a little look. You can't do that in animation. You can't fully get that. So we want to get that on screen so we can see what Troughton or Bill would
what
do.
a big Troughton fan you were, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Plymouth Who in the live chat says they will lie about not finding anything, call us idiots for hoping and speculating. Then when they do tell the truth, they ask us to pay up if we want to see it. Same old story every time. Plymouth Who sounds a little bit burnt and hurt.
Battle weary. Battle weary.
Yeah, and I do understand. I do understand. I don't think your take's definitely valid. I understand. That's not how I read it, but I can understand how people would feel that way. Thanks for the comment.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. I think that's because we've been promised so much over the years. Like, I don't know, Philip Morris is a friend of the show as well. The wind is changing, and there was some really sort of hopeful comments that were made when the last batch were found, the major batch were found, with the Web of Fear and the follow. What's the one where he plays Salamander again?
Enemy of the World.
Enemy of the World. Thank you. Where it's supposed to be in Australia, but it's on a beach in Kent or something. They were sort of like the wind, the winter change is coming, and all this, that, and the other, and there was a real sort of hope that, my God, he's found loads, or loads have been found, and then it just sort of went zip into nothing, and that was really so much of a shame. And so, yeah, Plymouth, I feel for you. And I totally understand where you're coming from, because we have had our fingers burnt so many times.
Yeah, and sometimes the prices on some of those animations, you go, "Oh, that's expensive." That is expensive.
The Mirror went on to tally, in the same way that members of the live chat are doing right now, to tally up which episodes have previously returned over the years, to note the dates of the recoveries and who returned them, and from the places of like Nigeria and all those kind of things. And then they remind us that repeats were scant in the 1960s on British TV. But yes, a majority of the episodes were sold all over the world. I mean, I do wonder why go with this now. The recovered event was a couple of months ago. What did the Mirror know that maybe even Miss Molden doesn't? You do wonder, or is it simply the case that Doctor Who generates clicks? And it's been out of the news cycle for a little while, with just a few weeks. Is that enough for them to lean in to the missing episodes saga? I don't know. We have one further quote here in the Mirror that they credit to a undisclosed source, an uncredited source, who said there's lots of grounds for optimism that some episodes could be returned before too long. The films will be donated to De Montfort University in Leicester and carefully restored. So obviously nobody's put their name to this, but that is a declaration of fact. There's no ambiguity there. So obviously approach with caution. It is part of the body of the same story, though. So who is this Who is this source? Who knows?
It's odd that they've stated basically a drop-off point, haven't they? That films would be given to De Montfort. So that makes you think they must know a little bit of something, whoever this is, because you don't usually have that much of a precise bit. The first bit, anybody could say that. That's like such a general statement. But the second bit is a lot more precise.
Who knows what? Who knows when?
There'll be some big ovens in use in Leicester around the university if there are, because I'll have to bake a few of them, I think, before they can actually sort of get to sort of inspecting them and everything like that, because I imagine some of the films won't have been kept as you said, Dan, probably used as a doorstop or something, left in a drafty attic all those years.
We get what we get in whatever state. They're able to work absolute miracles with some of this material. If you remember that Morecambe and Wise material that came back a few years ago that was practically sludge in a bucket, and they managed to get it back. So it's viewable. So it is incredible what people can do now. Film is fabulous. How will they get on with this? They continue to document and preserve film collections to identify rare and missing items and facilitate their return to the copyright holders, they say, at their website. You can find out more about the work that they do and any future events by following them on their socials and their website, filmisfabulous.org.uk. There'll be a link to that in the description. Okay, this is Type 40 live on Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too. There's lots more to get stuck into, I'm happy to say. More whispers, more quotes. But for now, it's time. Oh, sorry, mate. Look, it's time to put the 21st century and all these hopes on standby. Wiggle the aerial and twiddle your knobs to tune into the genuine gold from teletimes past that we do still have to enjoy. Doctor Who legends flogging us all manner of everyday household tat back in the pre-Amazon days. This is the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break, and we'll see you back here in a couple of minutes.
In the history of robots, one breed stands out as the epitome of evil, and they're back to wreak mayhem and havoc. On my foot! Yeah, I've got the power. Inflict your revenge this Christmas on the new remote-controlled Dalek. Yeah, they've got the lot, the flashing lights, electronic banter, and the idle threats. And they're all useless when it comes to climbing the stairs. The new remote-controlled Dalek is now available for $69.99 by dialing 0800 975 4591.
Introducing Doctor Who, the complete history. An epic journey through time with the Doctor. Go behind the scenes of over 250 adventures featuring all 12 Doctors and discover how every story was brought to the screen in this official series of hardback books. Doctor Who, the complete history. Issue 1, $1.99.
Attention all Daleks. Look for these special Doctor Who packs of Weetabix. Each one has one of these 4 Doctor Who action games, 3 of these stand-up figures, and a secret message from the Time Lords. We must capture these special packs of Weetabix and exterminate.
Collect the special Doctor Who Weetabix packs and enjoy your daily wheat while stocks last.
Exterminate.
If you're back here, where we are. Where are we? There we are. Yeah, we're back on Type 40 Live again. Our early edition, Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. As always, you're there too with some fantastic comments. And we're coming at you now with even more. Coming at you thick, fast, and yes, with plenty of sauce too, as always. So we're all back, I think, all present and correct. I'm here with the panel. I can hear David laughing already. That's got to be a good sign. Where are we? Yes, here we are. Hello, got David Milling. We've got Luke Walters, Charlotte Shields, and I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. Thank you for the comments so far. Hope you enjoyed the ad breaks. There, who's here? Stephen Braddock says, I ate so much Weetabix in the 70s just to get those Doctor Who stand-ups.
Not with those beans, I hope.
You still have them, Stephen. That's what we want to know. Plymouth Pooh says, sorry, I didn't mean to be a downer. I just get tired of all the cloak and dagger secrecy that seems to fester in almost every aspect of the show, from missing episodes to Blu-ray sets to animations. I have to say, Plymouth Pooh, that whilst I am sympathetic to the people who put these projects together and the merchandise and the ranges at BBC Studios and various other places, it's just a fucking TV show at the end of the day. You could probably get some perspective. You're quite right. Stephen Braddock collected the complete history. You've still got them?
Yeah.
Still got those as well?
I've got them.
And we've got lots more. We've got lots more too. So, yes, all opinions are welcome, as always. Yes, Stephen says he's still got the Weetabix cards.
They must be worth a fortune. They are. They must be worth something, surely.
Drop us a couple of pictures. Drop us a couple of pictures, by all means. That's a natty colour scheme on that Dalek, says Farsight. Yes, it was red and black, as I remember. But that's better to be... is that the colours of Newcastle United or something? It sounds like a football strip, doesn't it?
You're on dangerous ground there, lads. You're on dangerous ground there.
Always on dangerous ground here at Type 40 Live on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. All opinions are welcome on our big thinking free speaking live stream. Okay, so where we go next? Lots has been said, surprisingly, over the last few weeks by various, to stay with the sporting analogy, key players in the Who world at the moment. Some more surprising than others. Some look a little bit more nervous than others. Let's take a look at some of that.
The walls of time are breaking down. You need to listen. The only way to save the universe. Watch Type 40.
Yeah, she looks so innocent, doesn't she? If anyone knows something, surely it's her. Despite that smile. It's been nearly 2 months since the season finale that shocked very few and yet pissed off so many.
Pretty much everybody.
We've got several things coming up. Yes, so season 2 of Doctor Who wrapped up in explosive style in more ways than one after a season which promised quite a lot and didn't deliver a great deal in the end, as it happened. Did it? As I say, the key players have been conspicuous by their absence until recently, and now we're starting to hear word from everyone involved. Russell T Davies he's gone from being an almost sainted figure in the Doctor Who fandom, and certainly a very well-respected media figure, to being, if not a pariah, then somebody whose legacy has absolutely been harmed by his return to the show, delivering a version of the series which has pleased so few people and fixated on that which is subjective and divisive, rather than things that united the British public and indeed audiences all over the world when he was originally running the show between 2004 and 2009. I'm all for people making bold choices, and there is no point in returning if you're going to do exactly the same thing in the same way, in the same order. But this was quite a gamble that Davis has taken this time. He hasn't seemed himself in any of the few media appearances that he's made over the last few months. And this latest one, I think it is probably the latest one, is no different. So it turns out he spoke to the Pilot TV podcast a little while ago. Now, this podcast is owned by the same group who publish Empire magazine and their website and podcast and everything that goes on over there. So it's a reputable, very mainstream platform and show that's been running for a few years now. But this clip of him speaking specifically about the most recent season of Doctor Who has been, again, just like the Sue Molden clip, it seems to have been published some time ago and no one noticed. I mean, what that says for their podcast, I suppose, wouldn't be for me to comment. But now all of this stuff is sort of making its way into the Doctor Who news cycle, and we can sort of, with the benefit of knowing how the season played out, it does obviously cast it in a very particular light when we hear the showrunner saying stuff, well, like this. Check it out.
Pause. I wish this pause wasn't happening, but that's the way the streaming world, Disney will decide whether to fund more after the transmission of season 2 And that's simply it. It's like people keep on saying to me, yeah, what's really happening? What's really going on behind the scenes? And I'm like, nothing, honestly. Even people I work with, and every day going, yeah, what's really happening? As though there's a secret red Disney phone here. I wish I did. That'd be brilliant. You know, where deals and he cuts at midnight. It's like literally, they will decide at the end of season 2, and even then it won't be immediate. I think a couple of months will pass while they look at figures and stuff like that. So there's no secrets. It's just literally not happening, which is unfortunately built in a pause. If it does come back in that shape and form, then we wouldn't be able to start straight away. So there would be longer than 12 months between series. But that's a shame because I'd really love to make it an annual show. And I think for children, that's important. If you could sort of say, oh, it's always on in April, May. I think kids feel that in their bones more than adults do, maybe. However, maybe that's wrong. Maybe they're all so busy streaming now, they don't notice a season any more than anyone else does.
A slightly different
like
tone.
Got a cold.
A slightly different tone than we're used to hearing from Russell T Davies, I think. I wouldn't go so far as to say that he seems defeated, but I think given that he's speaking to pilots, again, very much part of the mainstream here, a serious podcast attached to a major news group, he seems a little more open and reflective and frank about, if not his personal failings, I'm not sure how much of it he takes responsibility for, but he seems solemn in the face of almost a broken promise, I think, to deliver annual Doctor Who, not just to children, but to everywhere. I mean, there's that word again, pause. Charlotte, we saw that in print in Doctor Who magazine just last month. This was put out certainly before that column was published. And a lot of this is stuff that he's saying that we'd worked out for ourselves.
Well,
but
some of it,
this is the first we've heard him speak like this.
Well, he did sort of hint at this with the news round stuff, and that was the first sort of hint
and the premiere,
to be like when I think when the fans who weren't as much good at reading signs and looking at the lay of the land, that news round stuff really got their backs up because they were like, what? A pause? Like, hey, like they were really taken back by the fact that Russell was even putting that idea out there. So for me, this feels like it's an extension of what he said with that premiere stuff. I think it shows that how, and I think in hindsight, I think they always needed an international streamer. I do think that was always needed. But I'm surprised it really feels like off those comments that he's really beholden to Disney, that he's almost been paralysed now and the show's been paralysed, and that's the word I would use, on the decision of some executives in a Disney boardroom. Like, that's the vibe I'm getting, and it's...
Well, if I may, I don't think it's necessarily Disney. I think all of a sudden, this is the second most powerful man in all of British media a few years ago. I think he suddenly finds himself a medium-sized cog, if not a small cog, in a far greater machine that doesn't just include Disney, it's various other people. So again, I think it's wrong to fixate too much on Disney, if you follow me. But I think this is why Russell seems diminished.
Oh, I know, but he did name check them, and he did sort of point to them quite evidently in those comments. That's why I've used Disney.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
And I think it could be, there's going to be executives and studios in BBC's end who are also he's beholden to. But the fact that he's literally said, we have to wait for Disney to look at their figures and then we'll see about Series 3, to me shows there's quite a lot of power there. And like you said, Russell is very clearly not the master of the ship. It's the vibe I'm getting. And I know that's probably
power. That's power regardless of where the series goes next. I maintain all our sources tell us that Disney are out of the equation, but obviously the marketability of taking this brand anywhere else, those metrics, anybody who wishes to take the series on, they may insist on seeing that as part of any proposal that they may enter into. I think that's how.
Here's the
that's
thing.
What I'd be looking for.
Yeah, nobody's going to throw money at you unless you can show them return on investment. That's the whole thing of getting these deals. You can't just like say, "Can I have infinite money, please?" and I won't show you anything to give me the money. It's like and I tell you what's telling also another thing. He talks about kids there missing it, and maybe they won't. That's sort of like an after comment after, like you said in the second bit. But I'm sorry, I can tell you, I work with kids. Doctor Who is not on their radar.
Not at all.
Doctor Who is like the odd. When it comes to the playground, or when it comes to when I'm just around them with my work, there's no conversations at all. There's no toys I see, like if they bring in toys when it's like a treat day. I don't see any lunch boxes with Daleks on. So I'm sorry, Russell. I think you've lost those children that you're talking about in those comments, which I think is the sad thing of the current run, that it hasn't impacted
I think he's oblivious
the younger
to that.
generation. Well, yeah, that's what it shows to me, that he is oblivious, or he was at that point when he made those comments. I don't know if now he's a bit more wise to it. But yeah, for me, that shows how much he, like you said, he's sort of this cog. He's waiting on others a lot, and that's very different to what Russell had in the first time around.
That's why I think with them bringing in the CBeebies approach for commission, the BBC recognise, or it would indicate that the BBC recognise that they've lost those younger viewers, and that's why I think they wanted to bring in the CBeebies Doctor Who thing to try and get the kids interested again, to then hopefully, when something comes out, whenever it may be, to sort of like transition to bridge, if you like, that sort of, well, this is the preschool stuff. When but by the way, did you also, were you also aware that we've also got this series called Doctor Who as well, that you can watch on a Saturday or a Sunday evening or whenever, and to keep them interested. And I think you're absolutely right. In fact, I don't think, I'm absolutely certain you're right there, Charlotte, because it's not on the radar of my nephew and niece, who are 13 and 9 respectively. Not on their radar at all. Yeah, not on their radar at all. And I think that there's two very common British phrases that apply to Russell and what he said. To summarize, and I'm going to very briefly for once, basically what I heard him say is, you can't polish a turd, and I'm a very small fish in a very big pond, and I'm used to being a very big fish in a very small pond. And that says to me that he now realizes that, as you said, Dan, he is a minor cog in the whole workings of it. And I don't think he'll be used to that. He is the showrunner. He is the person, the front of a show, the all-powerful RTD that
topping
will conquer
all those
all.
lists of, like,
I want to
stereotypes.
make it clear. I think the things that he was saying conceptually make perfect sense.
Totally.
But you know, what he's saying about the audience and about children is absolutely, you know, there's a lot of empathy there. All of that is absolutely correct. We've said that countless times on this show. But just like you say, Charlotte, that's not where the show is now. Not remotely. It could have been. I don't think all was lost up until relatively recently, but it certainly is lost for the time being. And Russell T Davies, although I do get the impression that he has had a form of a reality check, that he's still some mental way away from connecting every dot as to how the brand has ended up in this precise situation. I mean, obviously we don't really know what happened between him and his departed lead, Ncuti Gatwa. The more we see and hear from him, the relief on that vacant face of his, that it would seem that the fact that they're not working together anymore, it's agreeable to those terms, agreeable to Ncuti Gatwa. I would imagine they are to Russell as well, but Russell's never spoken about Chris Eccleston, so I doubt he'll ever say a word about Ncuti Gatwa either. But the tension and the stress that the man seems to be under there, whenever that was recorded, which could have been around June, we think, is very, very evident in the strained sound of his voice, the repetition, and despair almost with a small d. I don't think he wanted. This is clearly not what he imagined would happen, and certainly wasn't part of the plan. Garbage says, I trusted Russell T Davies, he let me down. I think he feels that. I think he's conscious of that, and admitting that to Pilot TV, whereas he probably wouldn't admit it to some of the platforms that he's spoken on before. He probably wouldn't have admitted it to, but I think he respects them in a way that, I hate to say it, I think he's behaved in a very disrespectful way to masses of the fandom, either through social media platforms or speaking to other organs, other platforms, has been elitist and adversarial, I think, which really isn't the Russell T Davies that we used to know. And there's a lot of spin being vented here in the live chat, directed explicitly at Russell T Davies. Of course, Bad Wolf have Doctor Who for a few more years, so the BBC Studios, if they're going to commission anybody, they will be commissioning Bad Wolf. Whether Russell T Davies remains there and in what capacity or not, that's not going to change. Russell did say a few more things, so let's listen to what else he got to say.
So yes, it's like, of course I'll move on one day, and there are brilliant people who could take over, and it's funny, a lot of people always say, "Oh, you know what it needs now is a showrunner who's never seen it before, who's never been a fan, who's not invested, so it could all be completely new." Those same people tend to say, "Don't dare take the Doctor's quotes."
Yeah, right.
They want the show to be all new and imaginative and brilliant. Don't need that in your clothes. Don't make him cry. Don't do that. Don't do anything. It's like the list of things that want to happen is just so mad.
He doesn't get it.
No, he doesn't. And I think he's got a cold as well, Dan. I don't think that helps the tone of his voice.
It's hard to say this. It's weird listening to that portion of this conversation. He didn't really say a great deal else other than that. But listen, a lot of those words, specifically in that portion of this particular podcast, are very much our own words that we're having repeated back to us by Russell Davies.
That's been thrown back at us.
I wouldn't go quite so far as to say that. I don't think he's been necessarily dismissive, but I think what this does prove is that he's heard, he's listening, and he's watching. Even if he doesn't accept it, process it, or view it as having any real value. We've had various bits of feedback back to this show about people on Doctor Who watching and listening to specifically us in the past. So we know you're watching. Probably are watching tonight, Russell. But these are things that we've said. The clothes, the crying, and also how many times have we had the conversation about the next showrunner needs to be somebody who's not a fan, not part of the clique, so he knows that this is what we collectively, and you there in the live chat, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, these are the things that we haven't just been saying for the last couple of months, we've been saying for quite a long time, to tell you the truth. And Simon Horton was saying them the day that Russell came back to the job, in all fairness.
Yeah, no,
Luke,
I get what you mean, but no, so I let Luke talk.
No. Yeah, it's
Russell.
Hello, everyone. It's Russell T Davies here. I haven't got glasses. You look at Tony Gilroy, who just did Andor, and he's not a Star Wars fan, and has produced, and Star Wars has been very downtrodden for years and years and years and years and years, ever since Disney took it over. This is sounding eerily familiar. Ever since Disney took over Star Wars, Star Wars has been on a little bit of a decline. Some people would say a lot more, but everyone has their own taste. But but Tony Gilroy came in, and I think he did the rewrites and reshoots on Rogue One. Then he took Andor and he did Andor season 1, season 2, and he allowed him to say, he's like, I'm not a Star Wars fan. But that's also the best bit of Star Wars that we've had in how many years? So it's
very
like
critically well received.
Massively, yeah. So it was like when him being like, "Oh, well, the writer shouldn't be a fan." It's like, well, no, it can work as well. And I think the whole Disney thing as well is a bit weird, because when I've spoken to friends that work down in South Wales and stuff, and they've always been said, and Russell has been saying as well, it's like Disney doesn't give as much money as people think. And I think they kind of backed themselves into a corner with it, because Russell was like, "Oh well, if Disney's leave, we'll just make ghost stories every day." And then other people have said, "Oh well,
Yeah.
we just won't hire as much crew and stuff." So they were all saying this before season 1. They're a load of guff and bluster. And now it's come around to it, and they're like, "Oh well, we're waiting on Disney. We're waiting on Disney. We're waiting on Disney." So it's a bit of a weird one. Yeah, and I found out. So I actually found out Shooty quit. I got told Shooty quit and Disney were out August 2024. I think I originally got told that they were leaving. That's why I was just checking my phone then. So they've had enough time to prepare and know for this and plan ahead. But it seems to have been like, right, cool, there you go. If I'm being told this in August by someone who's in it, then surely there's a plan in place to take it forward, afterwards. So
in all fairness, the way speaking publicly about these matters, which, let's be honest, particularly as this isn't a show now that's made with license fee payer money, or at least not all of it, we're not entitled to these answers. They're still like private companies making decisions that they feel are right for them. They're investments. They're only going to tell us the bare minimum that they have to before any kind of a real announcement that they're confident in can be made. So to make any statements about anybody being out or anybody being in or possibly this or maybe that, nobody makes statements concerning maybes, and very few places ever really do concerning departures either, particularly when the successor or whatever's coming next hasn't been established. Because if you can't field the next question that's coming at the one after next, then sooner or later you're going to hit that brick wall. You're going to run out of answers to give people. So I think that's why what they're telling us is actually several months old. You can't suddenly start saying, well, there's this person and that person, they work for this and that works for that, and there could be this or there could be that, because we'd be firing off all over the place. And that, obviously, that from his point of view, that just increases pressure on him. And also, how would that look to anybody that they are speaking to who are looking to invest? It further clouds the waters. So I understand why we're only told what we're told. But what I find strange is when we speculate, or when we break stories, or we have information from our sources, which we bring you, we get a certain amount of criticism, shall we say? Let's put it politely, criticism from people who want to discredit us based on the fact that it can't possibly be true. Well, no, this is the way that most businesses work anyway. And in my experience covering this show and working in various forms of media, it doesn't work any differently to any other sector. This is really quite commonplace. And Russell T Davies, he looks like a man who's fighting a lot of small fires at the moment. And if not, I wouldn't go so far as to say he's trying to save his career. The man's 62. For heaven's sake, he's going to be fine. But I think he's more than aware that for the people who are loyal to the show, loyal to the brand, and willing it to succeed, that this is the exact opposite of the position that we needed to be in right now. They're coming into the last quarter of 2025.
Well, yeah.
I think it goes back to sorry, Charlotte. I think it goes back to something that JNT once said, is that he didn't want to be known as the man who killed the show. And I think Russell might be trying to sort of somewhat save his legacy, or create a legacy, so he's not known as the man who killed the show. Like JNT didn't want to be known as the man who killed the show. I also think that it goes back to the very, very famous Donald Rumsfeld speech, where there are known knowns and there are known unknowns, and there's stuff that they don't know that we don't know or are yet to know, that sort of thing. And you're absolutely right when it comes to contract negotiations. How good would it look if some of those very tentative commercial sort of like negotiations were sort of blabbed, oh, hello, everybody, and Luke can do the accent better than me, and the mannerisms. Well, we're currently talking to 3 streaming partners, and this is what they think, and blurt it all out in the front of Pink News and from a local hospitality venue that he particularly likes. So that would just be clown like sales and PR.
Delusional, says Jess here in the live chat on YouTube.
Totally.
David Lord Thoth says he's let us all down. Funky says that it's another attack at the fans. I don't, in all seriousness, I don't feel that this is an attack, David. I don't think that's the tone of it at all. But I can see that he thinks, I think the bit that he seems to stumble on, and I even get the inkling that he may have realized it was wrong and that we're right about this, is the stuff about the Doctor crying. He seems to accept that people don't like this. I believed during the last season that certain scenes were edited out, and that content was pulled back on at the last minute, edited to a minimal amount of screen time where they could. I think he's been aware of the feedback on this, the clapback on this for a long time. You got people like John Colshaw and the Dead Ringers taking the piss out of them for this, and they're not alone either. Our friend Tony Jordan at the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, he's spoken publicly to the newspapers about that matter, and you know, Tony's well respected. You know, there's no one more supportive of Doctor Who through hell and high water than Tony, and even he thinks this is a bag of wank. So I think that Russell may, obviously he's realised too late to save that incarnation, but maybe he won't make that mistake again. But no, I don't think I don't see this as an attack. I mean, does anybody feel differently?
Well, the reason why I said he's throwing it back, it's the way he talked about, he sort of said, oh, and they all say you need new blood. And that is almost a word for word thing. Like you said, he knows exactly what online we've been saying. And then that would have been fine, because that's something we've all said. I'm not saying that was him throwing words back at us. It was what he added afterwards, that he went, yes, but they also say you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do this. And then he lists off a load of stuff, which for me, and I get if you didn't read it, but to me it almost read like he was discounting then the actual first statement by then, in his eyes, going, well, they said you can't change the costume, you can't do this. It's like, Russell, you don't understand what we mean by saying we need new blood. It's not about, the thing is, we want the costume to stay the same. We want certain things like that because we want the Doctor to still be recognisable on screen. And that's what you didn't do.
I agree, Charlotte. I agree. I agree with you. I think there were other things as well, but I think it's the most telling thing of all is that, and I think he probably could have gone on to name a few, but I think it's the most telling thing is those are the two that he mentioned first. Those are the two that are obviously playing on his mind, that have been going round and round, that he's probably heard from multiple people, multiple sources, and may even be hearing from friends of his that are still firmly in the fan camp. I got the impression that it is predominantly those two, and anything else that he said after the fact was kind of to use as almost like a straw man to kind of leverage the rest.
That's what I mean. That's the exact vibe I was getting, that he had a legitimate criticism, which he mentioned to begin with, and then it was almost like he was straw manning then as not wanting somebody who was a fan by saying, yeah, but they also say this and this and this. And the thing is, the cry for not having a fan is because right now we have a showrunner that is obsessed with his own past, is obsessed with referencing his own work.
So yes, it's...
So by not having, by having somebody who's not a fan, that's less likely to happen. Because if you're not so in love with yourself, you're not going to be so self-referential. And the show has been lost. So many people I've seen online from all camps have said the shows are lost in nostalgia right now. It's lost in its own history. And the logic is, if we don't have a fan running it, you're probably less likely to have that as an issue. And that's the actual crux. And he didn't address that. It felt like he used a straw man then, instead of actually addressing. That's why I said it felt like to me.
When even Mark Gatiss is saying similar things, then he must realise. I mean, no, that would have been probably after this. Then obviously the game is pretty much up. Farsight says, I don't think he believes we are right. I don't know. I don't think he shares our opinion But I think he's had to accept the tone of his voice. Again, I don't want to read him too much because I don't know the guy. But the impression I get is that he's almost forced to accept that it's a valid point of view, but one that he's struggling to live with after the fact. I think that's different from thinking we're right. But seeing as the customer, the punter, the viewer is always right, I do think that largely is still the case. He has to accept it. And I think that's what he's been struggling with now for a number of months. And that's the attitude that's going to dog the project that is the Whoniverse, the entire proof of concept thing that he's been endeavoring to deliver, not just to the viewers, but to the global industry, I suppose, over the last 3.5 to 4 years. It's not looking great. I am glad that he's speaking and there's something out there that is at least a little more human and more reasonable and provable and shows that he's capable of hearing, even if he's not listening. What it could mean for the future, heaven only knows. It's clearly some way off before the series will enter production again, and that's assuming any of these things fall into place. Anyone comes to the party, stumps up the amount of money that they're going to need to enter into production at the level that they want to, the scale that they're trying to keep, and the profile that they want to maintain of the show on an international level with a certain sort of veneer of quality. That's obviously very important to them. Just wait and see where we are in a few months' time. I wouldn't hold your breath for hearing anything concrete probably until next year myself. What do you think? What do you think, Luke? It's just a question of sitting tight and drumming our fingers and enjoying what we can watch.
Yeah, I think so. I think the original rumor was for them to go back into production tail end of this year into next. And I know he's been quite a prolific leaker online and on Reddit and on Twitter. It was mainly does Marvel and stuff, and he's fairly accurate. He's one of the most well-known ones, and he's recently brought up the thing about Billy Piper saying she's going to be the Doctor, but more in line with David Tennant in the specials, is just a short run. And it's like, well, if that's coming out now from a leaker who's American-based, maybe there's something there here in that we're not, because we're very much in this goldfish bowl. But I really don't know. I really don't know. I thought we would have had some semblance of some kind of announcement around about September, October time. And then obviously after then, I was thinking maybe, look, Doctor Who every year, the War Between Land and Sea, technically Doctor Who, so maybe they'll push it to early next year so Russell can kind of keep his promise, and then they'll make an announcement after that. So yeah, it's a bit all over the place, to be honest. It's very much all over the place. So, but it's interesting though. So yeah, Jo Martin's doing her thing, so who knows?
Yeah, she's got no worries. She's paying her mortgage very nicely. Thank you very much. Who cares what Russell T Davies thinks? Says Dalek DeBando. Well, we're not necessarily interested in what he thinks, but what he says is it's really quite important. Billie Piper, obviously, she's very much in the hot seat. Or well, not that particular seat, but she's been seated and speaking about Doctor Who over the last couple of weeks. If anyone knows anything, you would think it had got to be her, wouldn't you? Because if she's contracted for anything, then surely her agent at least would have booked her in. A couple of months ago, she spoke, not exactly at length, but alluded to her return when speaking on that special edition of Doctor Who Unleashed there on BBC Three to mark the 20th anniversary of New Who. That was very interesting, and she seemed glowing, very happy to be back talking about the show. Never mind anything else. Coming back is really good fun. But also, I would do it, but they kind of dug herself a bit of a hole there. I don't envy Billie Piper at all, really. This week, she's out on the publicity circuit for one thing or another. So she was on the red carpet, or the pink carpet, I should say, as one of the cast members of the second season of Wednesday for Netflix. That's that big sort of Addams Family spin-off or prequel. I'm not sure what it is. There she is in a suitably sort of a goth gown with a daring cleavage on show, hobnobbing with the likes of Tim Burton there. And is that Steve Buscemi? I think it is. Wow.
Oh my God.
Billy. Yeah, but remaining, although striking in that dress, tight-lipped in more ways than
Billy, well
one. She's also been at conventions. The last time Billy Piper attended a convention with Christopher Eccleston back in 2023, I think it got a little uncomfortable for Billy. She sat and sort of smirked and curled her lip while Chris Eccleston reeled off a list of people that he'd ideally like to sack. That's a clip that we played ourselves a couple of times and that the fandom quotes more frequently as the cock-up that is all new Who rolls on. The pair of them are obviously reunited for Big Finish this month, but they're also over it. So this is the Florida SuperCon 2025 for a dedicated panel. This was last weekend, so that's July the 18th to the 20th at the Miami Beach Convention Center, along with seems like hundreds of other stars of TV shows and movies and things like that for a real explosion of geeky pop culture love. I'd love to see these two back together again and to meet them, particularly as they seem so at ease, generally speaking, in one another's company. The panel has been posted online, albeit not officially, and we do have a clip of it coming up here. So this is what Billie Piper had to say when put on the spot, specifically concerning her role in any upcoming Doctor Who material. Check this out.
Thank you both for coming, to see us here in Florida. But this question is for you, Billy. I just adore you and all the different seasons you've appeared in. But I feel like we've come full circle with the season ending that we just had with your regeneration. I wanted to know, how were you approached regarding that, and what was your reaction to being asked to come back in that way?
Oh, this is such a minefield, and now I have to really engage with how I answer this. Okay.
Look at Christopher Eccleston's face and watch his body language as he examines that microphone in minute detail. Check it out.
Yeah,
That
he was laughing,
wasn't it?
He
When
was
asked.
laughing. Yeah, he was going, haha, glad I'm not being asked that question.
More like, get out of this one, love.
Yeah.
No pressure, Billy. Go on, love.
NDA.
Okay. All I can say is I was approached very last minute, and I can't talk about in what capacity, but I found it very emotional to film, and I think it's a really great ending. I found it quite, I don't know, I just found it quite moving, and I thought, and it was really fun to film because it had such a sort of cloak and dagger feeling about getting it made. So yeah, I have to lie a lot about everything to do with Doctor Who, it seems.
That was the most well-crafted, ambiguous answer.
Sweating.
There's a trap door under Billy's seat.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Brown adrenaline there from Billie Piper. The current maybe Doctor Who, certainly the lead of Doctor Who in that clip from the Florida SuperCon. The full panel went on for about an hour. There'll be a link in the video description. Christopher Eccleston, he is like a giddy schoolboy there to some extent. But I also get a sense of pride there in the actress, the professional that Billie Piper has sort of grown into. She really does hold that answer well. I don't think the strangest thing, I don't think she was expecting to be asked that question, whether it's because the questions are fielded in advance or selected in advance. I don't know. Or maybe she's just that relaxed. She forgot that it may come up. She stumbles over her words and yet remains warm and likable and open, and there's no sort of na 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 about it, Luke. It's impossible to dislike this woman because you can clearly see she wants to tell us. This isn't what she wants.
Yeah, you can kind of see as well the way when she's saying, "No, it was emotional for her." And I know people in the chat were like, "Oh, well, it's not emotional. It's emotional." When Doctor Who come back 20 years ago, this is the first person we saw, and then as the companion, our eyes were through her, and then 20 years
It's
later,
emotional.
she's in the TARDIS. She's the Doctor. She will
doesn't
be
look
the
at it the way
Doctor,
that she doesn't look at it the way that we do. That experience wouldn't have been the same for her. As you say, this is part of her. I wouldn't say her childhood, but her youth, her growth, and such a key part for her. Yeah, I agree with you completely.
Yeah, so for her to be like, I'd love for her to have a run with it. Like, even if it is a short-lived run, like Tennant, and then they all sail off into the sunset and leave it for a couple of years, and then pick her up with a new one. Like, I think, I'm not saying she deserves it. No one deserves anything, but it would be nice. I think she'd do a fantastic job. She's a great actress, and you can see she's a good ambassador for the show as well, after what has come beforehand and what's happened in press and stuff, and to see someone come out and be like so positive about it and have such a rapport with fans, and even with Eccleston, who last time was like, "Sack Russell, sack Julie, fuck them all," and I was there for that. It was well awkward, but for her to say so positive and be like, "Yeah, cool, I love it. This is fantastic. This is so emotional. This is a part of me." It kind of makes you be like, "Oh, okay, I'll buy into this a bit more." And it's like, yeah, so let her do it. Let her do it. Just give her a couple of episodes or give her a series. There are only 8 episodes now. Like, that's, let her do it. Why not? She clearly has a love for the show. So,
for all that I've just said, I do get the impression that she's also quite bewildered. I wouldn't say she's evidently not completely in the dark, but I get the impression that she's aware of the ambiguity surrounding the shape that any production may ultimately be when Doctor Who does become a workable show, commissioned with the right T's crossed and I's dotted. But she does, how committed she can possibly be, it's impossible to say. What they may have only loosely agreed some sort of arrangement about what she will do, particularly if it was last minute. Obviously, I would imagine the agent was involved somewhere in the equation and something was agreed upon, but it's impossible to speculate. I mean, from what we hear, it was as little as like 48 hours notice that where an offer went to her and it was either yes or no, because we need to film something, in which case it could have been simply her response to a plea from friends who she's worked with, not just once on Doctor Who, but twice on I Hate Susie, which obviously is very much her baby, her pet project. So these are people she's got this great long-standing relationship and trust with, and almost a debt to. I would imagine that Billy probably would feel a debt of gratitude to all of those people, regardless of whether Eccleston wants them sacked or not.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll say, well done. She did really well, considering you could tell she was like, this is a minefield. How do I say it? And so, because I do think, and this is what I think's more cruel on Russell's end, and a lot of that side of it, not Billy, that there's, like I said, we've got this ambiguity. We don't know. They've not officially given her the Doctor title. I know fans have given her that title, and I know press have. But nobody from the Doctor Who production team have come out and said Billie Piper is the Doctor. So because of that, she's going to get this question at every fan event she goes to, at every convention she goes to. Whenever she's doing anything in relation to the brand, this will come up because fans want to know, to put it bluntly. And because they haven't officially given us an answer, people are going to go, "Oh, Billie, are you the Doctor?" or have that sort of thing. So she's going to have to field a lot of these questions now, which I think it should really. I don't think she should have been put in that position in the first place.
No.
If I'm being honest, because
none of this is on her at all, is it?
It's all on Russell's end. Like she said, I'm surprised she even admitted it was last minute, because we all knew that it was all clear with the regeneration. We've all said it's clearly Shooty's body, and they put her head like a last minute on. The shoulders are Shooty, and then suddenly you get blonde hair and Billie Piper's face. So of course we knew that, but I'm surprised she even admitted that much, because that shows that they were really tearing their hair out and they didn't have a clue what to do if they made it that last minute in Cloak and Dagger. And I just think the longer... I know they possibly, like before we saying, they can't really probably comment on when the next series is filming, who's the streamer, all those details. But I think they should come out in the next couple of months and tell us whether she's a doctor or not. Just get that out the way, so then we can all stop sort of mithering the actress or having that debate online, and just wait then to see when we see her next in the role.
Okay, here's the next question then. Do we think that Chris Eccleston knows what's going on? David?
Absolutely. Because the fact is, if you'd have asked him straight after Billy had finished talking what the serial number of that microphone was, he'd be able to read that out off the top of his head. And
he went straight into that bit, didn't he, as if he was expecting it?
Absolutely. He went sort of like, I've got to look at the serial number of this microphone right now, because I have to really, really concentrate on that number, because
not show my face.
I cannot give anything away with an expression of any kind. So exactly. So yeah, I think he obviously thought, get out of that one and play fair, and she did really play fair. And if I may, it's not the first time Billy has stepped in at the last minute. I can tell you for certain that absolutely certain that at the 1998 University of Portsmouth Students' Union Christmas ball, we had booked steps. However, Lisa Scott Lee decided to develop a throat infection 2 weeks before the gig, and with 1 week to go, we booked Billy to fill in at the Portsmouth Guildhall with 1 week's notice, and she obliged and gave a rip-roaring set. So she's used to stepping in at the last moment, is our Billy. And yeah, I'm surprised she gave that away, but I'm certain Chris Eccleston, I'm sure she's had a chat with Chris and others about it, because they're your friends and they're used to keeping secrets because everything. And he would have probably been a sort of like, well, of course, if you want to do it, you have my full support, despite what he feels about the production team. And I'm sure she took counsel before she accepted, and so I just think he did so well at keeping such a neutral face there, and I think she did admirably in answering a really, really difficult question that if she'd made the slightest error, it would have been picked up by so much media.
Yeah.
And I think she did they both actually did a tremendous job in answering that question, because he answered that question as well with his body language.
Do you think he told her to just run with it?
Yeah, I think he told her. It's that brilliant thing of when actors and writers and politicians, sports people are able to say something but absolutely nothing at all, if you see what I mean. And I think that's a brilliant gift that she has completed wonderfully there. I think a very admirable job she made of that. And
Eggsy Trick Jedi has joined us in the live chat.
amazing.
Watching on you, Eggsy Trick Jedi. There's a bit of everything in there, isn't there? Chris Eccleston is a great actor, they say, and Garbage has outed himself as a fellow fan of Lisa Scott Lee from Steps.
She had a throat infection, apparently.
What else have we got? By the way, Classic Doctor Who is still streaming free on both Tubi, Pluto TV. Just for your information, thank you. It's not actually the topic at hand, but thank you anyway. Yes, so Chris Eccleston and Billie Piper, comrades in arms and in microphones as well. Here they are recording brand new audio adventures for Big Finish. First one of these is due out this month, so we've seen all the bump. Had a couple of trailers already and some brilliant artwork, and more pictures have just been released here of the recording of these episodes. I love this. Whether it's staged or not, I don't know, and I don't care. But it's just great to see them together, clearly having fun. That's translated to the stage there at Florida SuperCon, and that sense of camaraderie too. I'm really looking forward to these audios. I enjoyed Chris Eccleston's sense of humour on that panel as well. His reference to the Sontarans as looking like a cross between a baked potato and the late Clive James in particular made me smile. But of course, understandably, it's Billie. Yeah, we were hanging on every word that Billie was saying, because sooner or later somebody was going to ask her, weren't they? Of course, whether they would broadcast it or cut the feed or not, it's impossible to say. So yeah, just to recap, Billie did answer a question about her future involvement with any further seasons or specials of Doctor Who. She said, "This is such a minefield, and now I have to really engage with how I answer this. All I can say is I was approached very last minute, and I can't talk about in what capacity. So we don't know who she's playing or for how long or when or where. But I found it very emotional to film, and I think it's a really great ending." Spoken like somebody who's never actually watched the series there. She got no idea what the other 8 episodes was like. I just found it quite moving, and it was really fun to film because it has such a cloak and dagger feeling about getting it made. So I get the impression that Billie Piper enjoys her life, enjoys her work. And I don't begrudge anybody that. She's got a few bob, no doubt. So, yeah, I have to lie a lot about anything to do with Doctor Who, it seems. Now, I don't envy her that, in all fairness.
That's what I mean. It's cruel. That's why I use that word, because it is making her have to.
It is. And she's got a great relationship with the Doctor Who fan base. She's famously very, very open, very, very friendly, and encouraging of fan projects too. So that can't be the best position for Billie Piper to be put in, and in her own 20th anniversary of being associated with the show, which she said on the panel had changed her life. So yeah, go and check out the full panel. It is worth a watch. Lots of laughs, as well as the all important quotes there. That of course we were going to circle those, weren't we? All smiles for Billie Piper. She's very much the woman of the hour at the moment. It's going to be a bloody long hour with Billie Piper in that hot seat, I think, and how long she'll be smiling for, heaven only knows. We haven't got a date yet for her reunion with Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor on audio. They tend to just sort of drop them, don't they, these the Big Finish releases now, but this will be a single CD release. Snare by Tim Foley. I'm really excited to listen to this, Luke.
Yeah, no, I'm not like massively up on my Big Finish. I just listen to mainly some War Doctor stuff, and now I've been slowly getting into some others. So I think the last thing I listened to was John Hurt's Invisible Man. Listen to that, because they did that, and that was very, very good, very, very good. But yeah, so I've seen the trailer. Didn't see the trailer, listened to it, and it sounds great. Yeah, and I think they picked the right time as well, doing it just after Father's Day as well. So we love really, really interesting dynamic there when they go back and they go see Jackie Tyler as well. So I think it's this little section here just ripe for mining. You can get some really, really good stories out of it, and you've got 2 fantastic actors as well. So it's only going to just, yeah. And then to go back and watch it in retrospect as well, to see how it fits it. Yeah, I think it'd be great. Can't wait. Absolutely can't wait.
Jess is busy hiding her Steps albums as well there on YouTube in the comments. Thank you very much for that. Fans
You're
of
a
Clive
Steps
James?
fan, aren't you, Charlotte? I love you, Clive. Yeah. Basically, Garbage said that Margarita Prakatan should be the Rani. So that's why I thought, I love you, Clive James.
That's a very, very, very deep cut. She was very professional, says MCTV. Big shame they weren't as professional on the last minute or two. Yeah, it is what it is. It was a shit show, basically, MCTV. I think everybody agrees with that. And Billie Piper, she smiles and laughs. Now, it was a different experience for her than it was for us poor sods watching it, wasn't it? MCTV also recommends the first 2 seasons of I Hate Susie.
Very good.
I've never seen
very
it.
good.
You've seen it too, Luke?
Yes. Yeah. Very, very good. Very, very good. Highly
Fans
recommend
of
it.
audio drama showing themselves as well. The Invisible Man on audio with John Hurt, recommended to us by our Luke there. Okay, so yes, I think we're all glad that we weren't in the hot seat that Billie Piper's found herself in recent months. And if they can't announce anything for us, do it for her. Do it for her at least, who has to lie a lot about Doctor Who for the time being. As ever, let us know what you think of all this in the comments. Were you there in the audience for that convention? One of our friends actually was. So let's know what you think of that. Russell T Davies speaking to Pilot TV, to that podcast too. What do you think about Russell's state of mind and the way that he words things on that podcast? Any surprises? And as ever, what are your instincts for the future of Doctor Who? What do you think the timescales are going to be about whatever we're going to get and when it's possible that we could get it?
This is Lord President Rassilon. Due to the interference of that idiot renegade, the Doctor, the universe is collapsing. Unfortunately, the Time Lords have no answer for this, and I am forced to call upon the services of Type 40 Podcast.
Oh, and it was all going so well. Okay, yeah, that's all we've got for you this time. We've got a few days to sort of put this right. What do you think? It's got glue, bit of WD-40. I think we've got everything that we need. As for you, you can come and say hello for your the usual places. That's Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who. Those are our social medias. Come and get stuck in the Type 40 Facebook group. Join our community, thousands of Doctor Who fans, eager listeners and viewers too, sharing their thoughts about everything that we've covered on this edition of the show. And lots more besides. There's photos of people's collections. There's lots and lots of fan art, and jokes are pretty much as stupid as the ones you hear on this show. So it's all very fitting if you're a listener or a viewer of Type 40 Live. Get stuck in and join us in the Type 40 Facebook group. You can always drop us a message too through the wonders of SpeakPipe messages, predictions, any kind of feedback whatsoever on us or the show over there at rewind. Over there at SpeakPipe. There's a link in the description. As always, whilst we're cleaning up, okay, the past, the present, and the future of all things Doctor Who. Nothing controversial. Well, not really. But lots of speculation to be had, as always. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. In fact, it's likely going to get considerably worse, I think, Charlotte.
Yeah, silence doesn't work very well with Doctor Who fans, so I think we're going to have lots of speculation.
Thank you for joining us in the live chat with the comments too, including newcomers. We've had lots of new names commenting along there on X and YouTube in particular. Get stuck in. Don't be shy whilst we clean up, ready for the next show. It looks very, very clean here, doesn't it? I'm going to just have a bit of a modge over here in the corner and see what actually is on this jukebox. I've been wondering about this for the best part of 2 years. The best part of 2 years.
Oh no!
Best forgotten by steps. That'll be on it.
I can say there could be some steps on there, David.
Yeah. Best forgotten.
You never.
I thought that was going to be one of your AI videos then, and something was going to happen. I was half expecting something.
Lisa Scott Lee jumps out
I mentally prepared myself for like the necessity to jump out or something. I don't know.
Type 40 Live, where anything can happen. More of our brand of news, reviews, previews, discussions, nostalgia, and banter when we return in just a couple of days' time with more Type 40 Live. Of course, the Big Who for Thursday, 8 p.m. Luke, it's great to have you back, mate. You've relocated, but you've rematerialized somewhere else, but still very much on form. Great to have you back.
Yeah, and I got jury service soon, so that'll be fun. Yeah, with some great weekdays. Jesus. But I leave my job this week, so it's fine. It's good. It's my last week in work, so I'm having a great old week. So no more Man United and Man City for me. It's very nice. But no, thank you. Been a pleasure.
Well, good luck in your future endeavours, as they say, and keep us posted on the jury service. If you go missing, you could get seconded, and they keep you behind closed doors for a couple of weeks.
I hope not. Jeez.
Charlotte, great to have you aboard as always. There are lots of comments and hellos for you there personally in the live chat. I think you got a bit of a fan club building.
To everybody who said hello.
And David, quite a day for you. England may have lost, but I think that we have won. We've won a few matches here. Right.
Absolutely, and I'm going to listen to the best of Steps, and I think they also did a collaboration with Billy Piper at one point.
Did they really?
Yes, I think it was an ABBA sort of thing, and I think that was on Now 42 or something, or 41. Or
I think he
42.
knows meticulously every track listing.
It's on his iPod.
You don't fool me, pal. Nice try, though, David. Nice try. It's great to have all your company as ever. And thank you to everybody who's been commenting along. We're back. More of the same every Monday and Thursday from 8 p.m. here at Type 40 Live. So, yeah, you've got 72 hours until the next round of it. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Live. We're going to park it here for now, though, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.